This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks show number 616 with Mark Robson, recorded on July 25th, 2024. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here on a very, very, very warm Bellevue, Nebraska. Heat warnings in effect for this weekend and early next week. Mark, we are looking at 110-degree heat index types. That's Fahrenheit. It's hot, no matter how you slice it. You guys, you said earlier in the pre-show you've been going through some flooding. Are you all right? Are you in a spot? Are you seeing any flooding, or you doing?
We're not where we are. We're at the high end of a neighborhood, but I saw pictures in Toronto where people are driving through 2 and 3 feet of water and cars are getting washed away.
Yikes!
So
yeah,
it's we've had tornado watches. We haven't. I think they just announced that they had a tornado in Montreal landed.
That's unusual, right? We don't typically get tornadoes that far north generally, right?
We've had a few.
Okay.
We had one landed about 5 years ago. We had one landed 2 kilometers away from us.
Okay.
And it took out, it hit 3 or 4 different spots across Ottawa, and you can just see where it just took roofs off houses and stuff.
Yeah.
And then just west of us, there's a spot that looks like somebody took a whippersnipper and took off the top, like 40 feet up, just flattened, everything gone.
Huh.
And that was, I think, 3 years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're getting them more and more.
Crazy weather patterns these days. You also mentioned there's fires going on. For those folks in Canada again, year or two ago, we talked about this, but lots of fires going on in northern Canada on the west side, and we're seeing all that smoke now coming in. The jet stream goes up through Calgary and then comes down the Rockies, and it's just hazy here. Makes for beautiful sunsets. Not gonna lie, it's beautiful sunsets.
I think Erin lives out there.
Yeah, she does.
So she's right in the middle of it, probably.
She is in the middle, indeed. She's more in the city, so I think she's okay. Got a friend up in Banff, and so worried about her. I should probably give her a ring. But, well, we post a show. We'll post a show with some world-class show notes today out at theaverageguy.tv. Big thanks to our Patreon subscribers. If you're on the Patreon team, thanks for doing that. Whether you're 1 month or every month, and many of you are just every single month, appreciate that. You can join the team, theaverageguy.tv/Patreon if you want to do that. Big thanks to Gavin Campbell, who joined me last week. Kind of a little bit last minute, but Gavin's always got some great information. And so big thanks to Gavin for joining me last week and all the information you did. Mark, I thought I'd take a second. We're going to do all grill, all barbecue, all smoker. That's what we're going to do. But had some health news. And I know for folks that are listening to the show, they know, most of you know, that 10 years ago, diagnosed with an enlarged prostate, and then began to monitor that, took some medication to try and shrink it. That didn't work. 3 years ago, I had an MRI. They thought they saw a shadow. I had a biopsy, no cancer then. This last December, so December of 2023, had prostate surgery. They removed 70% of my prostate and brought some functions back. You'd be surprised at how, just going to the bathroom now is a pleasurable experience again, as far as waiting 20 or 30 minutes to get that done. And then Tuesday of this week, I had a little kind of checkup MRI to see if they saw anything, and it was completely clear, which is awesome. Mark, let me tell you, listen, if they had seen something, I would have had to go in for another biopsy, and I've done 2 of those already, so I know what I'm in for. But I didn't want to do it again. I was just like, no, I think I'm done. I just don't want to do that.
It's a no news is good news thing.
Yeah, no, right on. I got the call this morning from my urologist, and she was like, "Hey, just want to let you know everything looks good." And I'm like, "You have no idea how good a news that is, right, for me." And so I'm back to, they scheduled a December physical with a PSA. Gentlemen, get your physicals. I'll say it again. Get your physicals. Make sure you're getting a PSA check if you're in that right age zone for that kind of thing. And So at least at this point, I think I'm in the clear. Mark, I got to tell you, my PSA numbers for men, they're between 0 and 4. That's a healthy range. Mine had gotten to 15 at one point, and which is not a healthy range. And after surgery, 0.5, which is a pretty great reduction, right? 15,
no kidding.
0.5. Yeah. They're like, oh, when they got those test results, they're like, oh, that's great. That's exactly what we want to see with this kind of surgery. And so it's been a little bit of a miracle, just to be honest. Brian says, glad to hear the news, and I am too. Ken says, congrats. So I'm back to annual physicals, which is kind of awesome. I'm back. I don't have to, I was doing every 6 months at the urologist and all kinds of exams and all those kinds of things. Listen, I don't regret any of it, Mark. Listen, 4 years ago, we lost Mike Howard, right?
Yep.
We lost him to cancer, right? And
yep.
Mike had been on this, right, very fast. And Mike had been on, you and Mike were the original when we first started doing the grill and barbecue show. It was you and Mike, right?
Mike got me on the show. Like Mike was the reason I started following your show. Yeah. But he was talking about Unraid, which I was starting to look at. And I saw Mike's interview with you about Unraid, and that's how I found you guys.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy the way that comes together? So I just think about him. I mean, as we talk about this, I just think about him today and losing him during, it's about this time in 2020 that we lost him to cancer. And of course, we miss him. He was a big part of what we were doing here. It was 4 years ago. And, there's days the good news is I have a whole bunch of recordings with him.
Yeah.
I mean, we did a whole bunch of stuff with Mike. Mike, we miss you, but good to know, at least at this point, like it's kind of done. No, I shouldn't say that because it's never really done, but it's good news. I don't have to do all the checks I was doing before. So to many of you who have been following me along on this journey, thanks. And many of you had some comments. You've sent me emails, jim@theaverageguy.tv, encouraged me with it, or said, hey, I'm going to take that part of my health a little more seriously. They said, thanks for saying those kinds of things. So thank you, the listener, and for going along with us. Many of you have been encouraging with me on that. Mark, it's a 10-year journey. I started that thing 10 years ago when we were doing meetups in Indianapolis with Dave McCabe. Those were the early days of really struggling with that. And I kind of think today it works maybe the best it's ever worked. The plumbing is working really well at this point. There's no cancer. And I'm in the clear for the next couple of years anyways, 3 to 5 probably. I'll probably do an MRI every 5 years or something just to make sure. It's kind of a good feeling. So anyways, thanks to everybody who went along.
Congrats again.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. So, okay. Well, Ken had mentioned, you said the whippersnipper. That is a definitely English, British, Canadian. Do the Canadians say?
We call it weed eaters, we call it whippersnippers, weed whackers, we call it all of it. It all means the same thing.
I think Americans say weed whacker. That's the predominant whippersnipper. I always hear I think the Australians call it a whippersnipper more. Maybe the British do as well. So anyways, we all know what you're talking about.
The weed eaters is sort of
that's the brand.
Yeah, but that's what everybody calls them.
Yeah.
Right. It's like Skidoo or like jet ski is a Kawasaki, but now everybody calls them jet skis.
Yeah.
Same like Kleenex, right?
The brand. No, right on. Right, yeah, like Kleenex or aspirin.
Yeah.
Those were both brand names. So, and then Ken says, wow, 4 years already. Yeah, big part of the barbecue shows. Mike was indeed. Those are still all out. By the way, those are still all out on my live channel. You can go out there, or I think you can search Mike Howard over the averageguy.tv and catch up with him. I haven't done that in a while, and I might. He was just such a good guy. He was so giving and so awesome, and I can't believe he sat in his studio with a folding chair for years. Like, Mike, get a real chair. Nope.
He had a Threadripper Unraid server, but he sat in a folding chair.
He sat in this folding chair for the longest time, and stubborn. That guy was so stubborn. I tried when he was essentially the CFO of Waffle House for a lot of years. And I tried him. I would always joke with him, get Waffle House in Omaha. We still don't have a Waffle House here in Omaha. It'd get killed. And he was like, no, we're not going to do it. And, and then I tried to get him to get the Wi-Fi in the stores, and he wouldn't. They were like, no, we don't really want people to stay for very long.
Get them in, get them out.
Get them in and get them out. Anyways, Mike, we miss you, man. And appreciate all the contributions, of course, he made to the show. Let's catch up with you, Mark. What's going on? I think it's been a year. What's been going on with you? Just give us a high level update on what's going on in your world.
Playing with toys. I think I got a new grill last year. Not sure if I had it when
There's a shocker.
I slowed down, and I actually sold a grill last year, which is the first in a while.
Yeah.
So I'm down to 3 now, plus my pizza oven.
Okay.
And at one point I was at 5, plus a pizza oven.
Yeah. What do you do? Okay. What's the pizza oven? What's the brand? What do you?
Uni.
Uni, and it wood fired.
Pellet.
Pellet fired underneath.
No, it's pellet fired at the back.
Oh, okay.
And then the flames sort of go up the top of it, and then go toward the chimney at the front, and then goes up. So it
all metal. Metal.
Okay. All stainless. Portable. It does a pizza in about 90 seconds.
So 700 degrees or something.
1,000, 800.
Nice.
Yeah. You need to you put it in. You leave it there 30 seconds, then you got to spin it around because the backside starts burning because the front side's not done yet. So you spin it around for another 30 seconds. They come out between 45 seconds and 90 seconds.
Wow.
And they're done.
And we're talking mini pizzas, right? Just
12-inch.
12-inch. Okay.
Yeah. We have these little stainless steel mesh discs that we put them on. So we build a pizza on that, and you can grab that then with the tongs to flip the thing around. Is it something
you'd recommend? And what's kind of a price range on that pizza?
I'm always cheap, so I paid $50 for it used. But they go for about $400 to start.
Uni? OONI?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, it used to be called UUNI, and people couldn't figure out how to do that.
Is it on on a tripod? Is it something like, does it look something like?
It's a portable unit, so it's got 3 legs that stick out the bottom.
Okay. Yeah.
Ken's asking about doing pizza on his Acorn. The trick for me with doing that was on the Acorn is to raise so that's the new versions.
Okay.
I have the sort of their first generation ones.
Yeah, they got a little temperature thing down at the bottom here.
That one's got gas on it, and it's got flames on both sides. And the one I have is very, very basic.
Okay.
But for Ken's comment about doing pizza on the Acorn, what I found worked for me was I put a layer of interlock bricks on top of the grill, and I put my pizza stone on top of that to raise the pizza into the dome. And you had to get the thing as hot as you can go. So I actually I'd loosen my ash pan at the bottom of the Acorn to let more air go through to get the thing up. And I was getting up to 1,200 degrees in the ash pan. Yeah, like it was stinking hot in there, and that was still taking 4 or 5 minutes to cook the pizzas. Jeez. So the Uni does it in a minute.
Are you doing it often? Or, no. We make pizzas maybe once a month, but would it be worth it to have, in this kind of where it's a pellet setup, I'm assuming it fires up pretty quickly. Is that
15 minutes?
Okay. It use a lot of pellets to get up to temperature?
I don't think so. Maybe 4 cups. Like if I'm putting them in, if I put pellets into my barbecues, I'm putting in 40 pounds.
Yeah.
If I put pellets into this thing, I grab a couple of solo cups.
Yeah. Right. Tony says, do you make your own dough?
I haven't done one this year, but I have a dough recipe that I've been trying to get time to make.
Yeah.
It takes 3 days to make the dough. It's actually, the recipe came from my chiropractor friend of mine, and he cooks his in his garage every Friday. So he makes it on Thursday, has it on Saturday. I haven't had a weekend where the weather looked good on the Saturday that I already have something else planned to make it on the Thursday, or it got rained out, or so. My goal this year was to try and make pizza every couple of weeks, and I haven't made it yet.
Yeah.
But for $50 for the oven, if I use it once a year, I still got I'm not missing anything.
Facebook Marketplace, is that?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Okay. Yeah.
I came back from a wine weekend at a place called Picton, which is 2.5 hours away from our house, and had no thoughts about buying anything, and I just happened to look on I think it was an RSS feed off of Kijiji, which is like Craigslist, and it popped up, and I called the guy. He was selling it for $250, and I saw it, and I didn't bid on it, and then he had it for $50 on the Sunday night, and it sounds like a bunch of people went to see it, and they said, no, it's not what I want. It's too small or whatever. So he just said, $50, come take it away. So I called the guy up and I said, I want it. And he goes, do you know what it is? I'm like, yeah, I've used one. He says, okay, come get it. And it was $50 instead of $400.
This one, even though you say you have gas, is it, so the pellets are burning in the bottom and the heat is coming up around the sides like this one that we're seeing on the screen, or is it a different?
Mine, the heat comes from the back.
Okay.
So it's got a little pellet furnace at the back of it.
Okay.
The flames come up, go across the front, and then they escape through the top.
Yeah, and this you can do natural gas or propane on if you want to go it that way.
And I think they still sell
$1,000.
Yeah.
Holy buckets.
Yeah.
This is just I didn't see that. I wouldn't. Yikes. Ouch.
Now, if you go to the regular ones, the pizza ovens, and go to pellet.
Let's see. Pizza oven, multi-fuel.
Wood pellet, the last one.
Yeah, that one there.
That's close to what I have, but that's a newer one.
At $350, that's a little bit more. That's a little more manageable.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you ever look at pizza ovens, you go into a barbecue store and take a look at pizza ovens. They're up to like $5,000.
Yeah. Yeah. You think you only cook? I mean, okay. Let's talk about this realistically. You probably make 2 pizzas a month, maybe, right? You think?
Yeah, I wouldn't.
If you're on track for it in the winter, are you doing it? Are you doing pizzas in the winter?
No.
Okay. So 6 months out of the year, 2 a month.
People do, but I don't have a place I would want to go outside and do pizzas in the oven.
Yeah.
But my chiropractor does it year round. He does it in his garage.
Yeah, he's got a place, right?
Yeah.
Where he does it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, but you just, at that kind of price, well, for $50, it's worth it. You say yes to that every time. That's a pretty
absolutely
good, yeah. Yeah. Ken said, and what you were talking about with the acorn, it didn't damage the cast iron.
You had to reseason it every time.
Okay.
But I had to reseason every time I did steaks as well, because my steaks would be. There was a guy called John Sutzler who came out with a bunch of hacks for the acorn, which is what got me into it in the first place. And he realized that you can put a Weber charcoal grill underneath the acorn's cast iron grill to give a sort of sub grill platform.
Oh,
and then you can
talking about the metal grill part.
Yeah.
Of it, you can set down. Right.
Yeah. And then on top of that, you put a sheet of expanded metal, and you can make yourself an indirect cooking grill where you put charcoal on top of the expanded metal, an inch below the cast iron. Okay. So in the end, I ended up replacing my cast iron grill with a stainless steel grill because I was having to reseason my cast iron all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now you'll see tonight, but I don't even bother using the grill anymore. I put my steak right onto the coals.
You do it. What do they call it? Caveman style? Caveman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Caveman.
So I did a 1 bone prime rib on Friday. So like a 3-pound prime rib. Mm-hmm. And I smoked it to 128. And then I topped it on the coals for about a minute and a half total.
What's your smoker on? So, okay. So you put in your smoker and you get the internal temp on it to 128.
Yep.
Then drop it on the coals.
Yep.
To get that char. How long is it on the coals for?
About a minute and a half total.
Okay. That seems so counterintuitive. I know it works. You don't have to convince me of it, but dropping meat right on the coals. I think everybody always thinks like it's going to have coals on it.
No,
right?
You pick it up and there's nothing there. I think Alton Brown, I saw do it.
Yeah.
And he talked about the fact that the coals have a bit of an ash covering on them.
Yeah.
And that's what ends up going to the meat. But if you look at the meat, you don't see anything on it. Occasionally you'll see a bit of charcoal stick onto it, but it was one of the best steaks or roasts I've done. So we had a piece of it on Sunday night for dinner. We made fajitas with it on Monday night, and then last night we had a steak salad with it with hard-boiled eggs and bacon and vinaigrette. And
you never miss a good meal, my friend.
No, you can tell from the size of me.
What's the internal temp? So if you're getting the internal temp to 130, and then it sits on the grill, what's it come off, or it sits on the coals?
It's not going up much. It's maybe that's why I pull it off just around medium rare.
It's still pretty pink.
It was nice and pink when I cut it up on last night, 2 nights ago, Monday night.
Okay.
When we made the steak, the fajitas with it, it was just beautiful and pink, and it's like getting a rare roast beef or medium rare roast beef.
Mm-hmm. And are you using charcoal for the
lump?
The steak's going big lumps of charcoal.
Yeah, I got a picture of it
so
here.
Anybody could, bring it up. Anybody could really do that if they had. I mean, you could put it in the oven and bring it up to 120 or 130, let's say.
Yep.
Then you could take it and you could just have a pan of hot lump charcoal that you lit. What how long do you think it takes to bring lump charcoal up to the burning temperature that you'd want to put a steak on it at?
I fired up the charcoal at when the steak was at 100 degrees.
Oh, so not very long at all.
No.
15 minutes?
I did a chimney of it. I'm just trying to figure out how to use
share screen, present downstairs, and then present, and then your screen.
Share screen.
So maybe 10 or 15 minutes, get the lump charcoal going, and then you could have it going in your oven, and then pull that out and drop it right on that for 3 to 5 minutes, do you think, or 3 minutes?
A minute. All it takes for me is a minute and a half. I'm just trying to get the outside nice and crispy. So is the picture showing up there?
Oh, it's my fault. I'm not showing it. There we go. Okay.
So is that big enough?
Yeah. You can go a little wider, maybe. No, that may be the best we get, because you're in portrait mode there. So
that's sitting. You can see all the smoke coming off, and there's no flame. That's just steak on top of very hot charcoal, and there's no flame. Now, the only thing on this one is there was a string tying it together. You can see the strings now off to the side.
Yeah.
Because the string didn't like the heat.
It would catch fire for sure.
The string caught fire.
Yeah. Your average, what do they call that? Twine.
Twine.
There's a name for it. The
butcher twine.
Butcher twine. There it is. That'll burn right off.
You can see it's almost like two pieces there. Like that's what the string was holding together. The twine was holding together.
Yeah.
And that vein between the two pieces is full of fat.
Yeah.
And the only time you got flare ups is when I picked the thing up. When it's sitting on the coals, there's no flare up. So I flipped it, I think, twice on each side, and then I pulled it off and let it rest for 5 minutes, and then we cut it up and served it.
Yeah. How do you know you're not overdoing it?
I don't leave it on long enough to.
Okay. You're talking a minute.
Yeah.
A minute each side. Could you sous vide that way? Would you be comfortable of throwing that in and then pulling it out, getting it to temp, pulling it? Would that be the right way to do it? Do you think?
I use my smoker like a sous vide. Yeah. Like I cook my smoker at 225, 250 degrees, which is arguably 45, say 55 or 65 degrees hotter than you do it on sous vide. Like you might sous vide at 165. Mm-hmm. I'm doing it at 250. But the steak, here's a picture of the steak. Let's see if I can get to this. This one's actually the right orientation. This was a steak when it came off. And you see that sort of mahogany. Yeah. That's what you get from smoking it for an hour.
So an hour, 225. You got two probes in it, and you're watching both probes. Are they going to be equal, or
they're within a couple degrees of each other?
Okay.
And this was it was semi-frozen when I put it on.
And this cut of meat is what? What do we look
prime rib.
Okay.
So we buy prime rib when it's on sale for $8 a pound, which is like $6 a pound for you guys.
Right. Or free for us.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
Yeah, Canadian beef prices are not cheap.
No, they're not.
So we buy it when it's on sale. Like I think that steak was probably 6 months old. Get it home, vacuum seal it, take it out of the carton or the saran wrap, whatever it's wrapped in, and vacuum seal it, and then pull it out a day before I want to use it. That the rub on it is just salt, pepper, garlic. Smoked it it started off at 40. I think the probes are 42 degrees. And about an hour later, it was 128 between the two probes. I think one was 130, one was 128, and that's when I pulled it off.
Yeah.
So it's close to, it's above medium rare. It's getting close to medium. It's medium rare. I think medium rare, I think is 130. I think rare is 125. So I think medium rare is 130 to 140. So it's a low end of medium rare. And so it went from that to, I don't have a finished picture, but the picture I showed last time was pretty close to being what was finished.
Yeah. You're the finished picture. You ate it.
Yeah. But that was 3 meals for us. So that was
good.
I
was going to say, you're not eating this all in one. You're taking a piece of this and then keeping another piece. What'd you make the next day?
We had 6 meals out of it. So 6 meals, 3 meals for 2.
Right.
So the first meal was steak and a lemon arugula salad. The second meal was fajitas, and the third meal was a steak salad, where it was like steak and bacon bits and hard-boiled egg, blue cheese, tomatoes, peppers, onions.
Yeah. This time of the year, all fresh. Right. Yeah. As we record this, it's July, so you're getting all fresh produce. That doesn't seem, I think, as we think about, okay, so the average guy may not have all this equipment, but you could, if you had a grill where you could get it cool enough. Most folks have a grill, right? So maybe fire the grill up. Oh, you could do it in the oven, like we talked about.
You can do it in a gas grill, just do it indirect.
Yeah. So get one side of the grill going, put it on the other side, put a temperature probe in there, get it to the 130. And then you could get a tray of, you could get the chunk, or it's not what it's called, the charcoal, but lump charcoal, right? Fire that up in a tray, right? I mean, you could get that, you could get a little tray you get at the grocery store. And then when you're done, just take those steaks. And I think I may do this the next time. We buy these bacon wrapped fillets, here, and they're $6 each or so for like an 8-ouncer. $6, not bad. Wrapped in bacon. That would make a really good. So get that, smoke it to 140. I'd probably want to do it to like 140, and then just do a quick sear on either side of those things, right?
Or do it in cast iron.
Yeah. Okay. Like in cast iron on the stove or cast iron in the grill?
On the stove.
Okay. So get that thing like super hot.
Yep.
Okay.
Just finish it off and like I do. I was at a barbecue.
Would you butter it at all on the or what would you?
I don't cook on cast iron, so I've seen a lot of videos where they're doing that, and they almost butter braise it, where they melt butter with garlic and rosemary, and they toss some butter on top of it to finish it off.
Yeah.
I was at a barbecue class one time, and I was talking to a guy, telling him that I was doing this with a like a 3-bone prime rib for somebody, and the guy says, "Yeah, but then you got to use 2 grills." I'm like, "But I got 2 grills, so it's not an issue about how many grills." So I got to pull 2 covers off and close up 2 covers. This is not a hardship.
Well, I would take, so for me, say if I just had a grill, I would get a pretty good size pan, and I would fill it with the lump charcoal, and I'd put it on the flame side of my grill. I would light it, get it going, leave the lid open, get it going, and get it burning. Then I'd bring out the steaks maybe and put them on the indirect side, get them up to temp, and then just lift them over and put them in the lump charcoal to get them seared for a minute each side, maybe flip them once or twice. And you're good to go, and you don't have to have any special equipment, right? And then when you're done, close the lid,
walk away.
Can you use that lump again if you wanted to, or would it?
I do. I use it. I don't toss out my lump. I'll put it back in the chimney and relight it.
Okay.
The acorn was phenomenal for that. I could do 4 cooks on the same. If I could load the charcoal up in the acorn and put the fire out and light the thing back up and put it back out again and light it. It just.
It's super insulated though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole purpose, right?
I have a Kamado Big Joe, which is like a 380-pound Kamado ceramic grill now. The big difference between that and the acorn is the amount of charcoal it uses. Where I could fill the Kamado Joe up and I might get 8 or 10, 12 hours out of the thing, where my acorn, I remember guys doing tests where they're getting 30 hours straight out of the thing.
Wow.
It worked really well with minimal airflow, and the charcoal just lasted, and you could shut the vents off and reuse the charcoal.
Well, it's like cooking inside a Yeti.
Yeah.
like a Yeti cooler, right?
Yep.
I mean, they're heavily insulated, and that's kind of what they're designed to do. Yeah, it's interesting. I think sometimes, I guess, Mark, as we're thinking about this, and Ken says he agrees the Acorn is super efficient. I think sometimes we think we have to have a bunch of fancy equipment to do some of these things. And for some, I've talked a bunch about the Solo stove over the last couple years, and even some of those you can do a lot with.
You can do pizzas. You could do the indirect, the cooking the steaks on cast iron on top of it.
Yeah.
But we've been talking about this for years, and my recommendation for anybody that wants to get into it is go out and buy a Weber kettle.
Yeah.
It's the be all. You can do the low and slow, and then you can put another chimney onto it and get the really high heat, and you can go right on the charcoal. You can do the.
Yeah.
I sold mine last year because I wasn't using it, because I didn't. If I needed anything big now, I have my Komodo Big Joe, and that was my Komodo is now big enough. I didn't need to worry about my kettle anymore. Okay. So I actually sold it to my RMT, and I think she's only used it once. But that was, I did everything on that. I did high heat, I did low and slow, I did indirect. I used to do wings on it all the time, indirect. There's a time I used that weekly.
Yeah.
And then I got into kettles or into pellet grills, and now I just.
Listen, pellet is, I mean, like gas. I mean, I have a gas grill and a pellet grill now. And I actually go back and forth between the two. Like, I like doing vegetables on gas. That just is for me, that's just a better experience. So we'll load up the veggies. I got a veggie tray. I also got some of those silicone frog mats that you talked me into. I use the hell out of those things for beef jerky.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you what, take the frog mats that have had I don't know, 4 or 5 beef jerky cookings on them, put them down, get them hot, then put the veggies on them, and all that flavor comes through. Dude, all of a sudden people are like, what are these vegetables? And you're like, well, they're kind of beef jerky.
They're jerky flavored veggies.
Just to be clear, they're kind of beef jerky. But between my my Austin XL pellet smoker, which I have, like when we do the bacon wrapped sirloins, the bacon creates fire, which I don't always necessarily want on the gas grill. So it's for me, it's been better to put those on the hot end of the smoker as opposed to do them on the gas.
Bacon wrapped dry brine chicken thighs.
Yeah,
on the smoker.
Ooh. Yeah,
unbelievable, because you don't have to worry about them flare up. You don't have to worry about anything. You just put them on the there until it's done. They get nice and crispy.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
I had a picture that
what temp do you what do you put your smoker at when you do those?
300, 350.
Okay.
There's no worry about, like, the only worry you have about is overflowing your drip tray. Right. The bacon drips onto the grease drips onto the drip pan and goes away. And
I don't find, I know bacon makes a lot of grease, but in a cook like that, where even I've had up to 8 steaks with that are, it still doesn't make enough fat to almost even make it to the
no,
to the drip pan.
But if you tried doing that on a gas grill,
it'd just be,
you're fighting flare ups.
It'd burn my house down. Mark, when I'm making the other thing I've been doing lately, but I've been making pork butt, right, or shoulder, some people call it. And I've actually been adding in like pork ribs to those, so you can get them you can buy them in a package. They're pre-cut for you. I'm not trying to do a rack of ribs. I just want the rib meat that's in there. Oftentimes they're pre-cut. Put the ribs on the bottom, put the pork shoulder on top with the fat on top, and let that fat render in. And I'm not trying to get the fat to burn off. I keep it in the pan. And then when I pull the pork, that juicy, fatty stuff all gets mixed in with it. That's actually been pretty good. Am I doing that wrong? I mean, like, that's a pretty good. I took a little piece of processed ham too. I bought a ham you would buy at Easter or whatever, right? Threw that in there and let that cook for a while. And I would pull that ham into the pulled pork. And so you'd get that processed ham, salty deliciousness kind of thing. Am I doing it wrong by leaving the fat in? It seems like it makes the pulled pork better.
I've found that I started only using shoulders.
Okay.
So this is a 10-pound shoulder on top of 10 pounds of pulled.
Let me bring it up. There we go. Okay.
So I did 20 pounds of pulled pork a month ago. So the bottom one is 10 pounds. It's already pulled. The top one is 10 pounds about to be pulled.
Yeah.
I found a huge difference. And I only realized this last year, maybe, between pork shoulder and pork butt.
Okay.
That the shoulder I find is juicier than the butt significantly. So I get that's at 203.
Is it fatter? Is there more? Because that one of them's got that kind of layer of fat on the bottom.
I think the shoulder's got more fat in it.
Okay.
The butt is, I think, leaner.
Okay.
But the fat is flavor.
Oh, it's so good.
So
good.
Like I picked up one today. It was 4 kilos, just shy of 4 kilos. So that's 9 pounds of pork shoulder.
Yeah. And did you let the fat? Okay, so in the picture we're looking at, did you let that fat render into the pork that's below it, or does it drip off, or what are you doing?
It's I have a picture of it cooking, I think.
Because I've just always the last couple ones I've done, I've let the fat render into the meat, and it just keeps the meat juicier and more delicious. It helps. I've been adding, I add a little bit of ham. I shouldn't say a little bit. I add a bunch of ham. I add some of those ribs to it, the pre-cut ribs.
Yep.
And so at the end, I'm pulling the pork bones out. I'm pulling oftentimes the processed ham will not pull. So I end up just cutting it in small cubes and leaving it in the meat when I'm doing it. But then the rendered fat from the shoulder or the butt or whatever I've got is going right into I'm putting it right into the meat. And man, it doesn't, how sometimes when you refrigerate it and you get that layer, I don't get that for whatever reason. And it's so tasty. We've had to use very little barbecue sauce. It's just been super tasty.
So this is the 2 shoulders pre that last picture.
Okay.
So and this is for me is one of the easiest things you can do. So I'm doing one tomorrow night. I'll put it on at 9 o'clock at night. I pull it off between 2 and 3 o'clock on Saturday. I wrap it and let it rest in the cooler for 4 hours, 3-4 hours. We'll pull it that night for dinner on Saturday night. I'm then going to package up a 3.5 pound freezer bag of it and freeze it. And we have 12 people come for dinner for a reunion next Saturday. And I toss the freezer bag into a cooler with 2 to 3 kettles of hot water and let it sit there for an hour. And so on the day of the barbecue, I don't do any cooking. Mm-hmm. Or if I do cooking, it's only appetizers. It's not the main meal.
It's a great idea.
And I also do it for work, same way. So I bring a frozen bag of meat to work and a cooler and a sous vide cooker. And I toss the thing in about 10 o'clock in the morning with a sous vide at 165. And I let the thing go until noon. Between 9 and 10, I put it in. It goes till noon. And I chop it out, open the bag up, put it into a pan of foil, and then I give it to I did it last summer. I'm going to do it again this summer. So I feed our company for a day.
Wow. Yeah. Is fat side down on that?
I don't even pay attention to it.
You just throw it on.
Throw it on.
What's the rub? What's the rub that you got on?
This one is, I have a selection of rubs. This one is just one of the ones I got. I think my neighbor went to Syracuse and came back with 2 rubs and said, "Here you go." I try them and make sure they're not too salty. Right. Like I try them in my hand first, but I shouldn't probably say this, but I don't put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah.
I unwrap it, I wrap it, I coat it in mustard, I put a rub onto it, I toss the thing in. I don't probe it until the next morning. About 8 o'clock in the morning, I'll put a probe into it. I go about my day until about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Then I come back and get ready to get everything wrapped up. And
so, okay, let me re-synthesize what you just said, because you get me thinking. Sometimes when I want to do pulled pork for dinner, I'll wake up, at 6 o'clock. I'll get up, get out of bed, put that thing on at 7, and I'll run it till maybe 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Depends when it comes up for temperature, right? Then I'll pull it in, let it sit for a little while, might wrap it. You taught me the trick of wrapping it, putting in a cooler, right? That just keeps the heat from dissipating right on that. So I actually have a cooler on my deck that I use just to put stuff in there for that kind of stuff, right? Kind of convenient. But I could do that the day before. Yep. And then I could let it sit in the cooler even longer. So Same thing. I could put it on early in the morning, let it go as long as I want. As soon as I think it's done, wrap it, throw it in the cooler, let it go another couple hours. I've got to refrigerate it at some point, right? So before I go to bed,
I was going to say, you don't want to let it drop. I think it's below 165 or 155 degrees.
So a couple hours, and then I could pull it out of the cooler, put it in the fridge, or would I need to freeze it?
We leave ours in the fridge for a couple of days.
Okay.
So like tomorrow, so I'm going to do it tomorrow night. We'll have it for Saturday night for dinner. We'll probably have it Sunday night for dinner. Sunday night or Monday night, we'll vacuum seal it.
Okay.
So I'm going to vacuum seal it for next weekend's party, but I'm also vacuum sealing it smaller bags for cottage week we have coming up.
Yeah.
So
and freezing it, vacuum sealing it, then freezing it. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The last pulled pork I made, I just took Ziploc bags, put them in there, flattened them out, and threw it in the freezer, wrote the date on it so I would know. And then we can pull those anytime we want. They make nice 3 or 4 person meals when you just want to pull those things out, right? And get them done.
And the only benefit of the freezer bag, the vacuum seal bag, is that you can toss it into a cooler, not to worry about it getting submerged.
Right.
Where a Ziploc may or may not.
Questionable. Okay. Yeah. So I could do that, let it go all day, put it in the cooler in the evening, before I go to bed, pull it, bag it, put it in the fridge. The next day, then let it sit in the fridge. The next day, hour or two before the event, pull it out, reheat it.
Depends if it's frozen or not.
Okay.
If it's frozen,
I just refrigerated it.
Yeah. An hour in refrigerated meat is if you put it in sous vide for an hour.
Could I put it in the oven for an hour and reheat it, or is that too dry?
It's not the same. The benefit of doing it in the sous vide method is that it reheats in its own juice.
What about a crock pot? Could I throw it in a crock pot and let it warm up? Like
possibly
crock pot on warm, and maybe throw just a little sauce in with it to kind of keep it moist in there.
See, we don't sauce because we have big variations of what people like for sauce.
Yeah.
So I'm a big Carolina sauce person.
Yeah.
My wife hates the Carolina sauce and likes like the Memphis sweet dark sauce.
Yeah. Well, and I'm even thinking about, even capturing some of its own juice.
Yeah.
And then in the next day, throw that in the crock pot, throw some of the juice in the crock pot, let it kind of warm, and then just pull it right from the crock pot.
Well, in the freezer bags, it ends up having its own juice in it.
Yeah.
So it's like you pour it out and there's just juice dripping at the bottom of the thing.
Tony's asking in chat, when do you make your vinegar-based sauce?
So I was just writing back to him, but there's a chain up here called Loblaws. They have come out with a Carolina sauce that is about as good as I make my own.
Ooh.
So if I have a barbecue at home, like for the reunion, I'll probably make my own batch. But if I just want to have a bottle in the fridge for home sandwiches, I just use this Carolina gold sauce. And they make both. They make a Memphis sauce and they make a gold sauce. And Kraft used to make it, but they stopped selling it in Canada. I'm not sure if you can get it in the States, but they used to sell a Kraft Carolina sauce and a Kraft Memphis sauce. It was good. Like for a store-bought sauce, it was fantastic. So for the weekend, for our big party, I'll make some. But when you go to the cottage, I'm just going to bring the bottle up.
It sounds delicious. So for everyone listening, sorry we're making you hungry, but I'm not sorry, just to be honest.
Yeah, you normally give them a warning.
I normally do. Yeah, I'm like, hey, if you have not eaten before you listen to this show, you probably should. Okay, what else, Mark? What else have you been working on?
Did a couple of things this summer that I haven't tried before. One was smoked cream cheese.
Yeah, and I've heard smoking cheese is a thing, but you got to have you can't get your smoker too hot, right? I mean, because
this doesn't matter. This is cooked at 300 degrees.
Oh, okay. All right.
So these were both done, I think, for an hour. So this was these are both just store-bought rubs. This is a dill pickle rub. And this is they call it Happy Nancy. It's like a sweet, salty rub.
Okay.
So with the dill pickle rub, I actually served it on crackers with a dill pickle slice.
Ooh.
And then the other one got served with red pepper jelly.
Oh, wow.
So that was our.
Okay, so you buy a block of cream cheese.
Yep.
Put it on a piece of tin foil.
Score it.
So cut across long ways and short ways. Then just sprinkle the rub on it, basically. Both sides or
all 6 sides.
All sides. Okay. Then just throw it on the grill and go for an hour.
Throw it on the smoker and smoke it for an hour.
Smoker, and then like it's smoke temperature, or do you try to get it?
Nope, 300.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I did one batch of it. I had a friend over who's a bit of a picky eater, so I made this. I made shotgun shells and I made jalapeno poppers.
Oh.
And she's like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, yeah. I said I'd make this again. So this was the second batch. So I brought this up for our Canada Day weekend at a friend's cottage.
Yeah.
So I brought this up and I brought pulled pork up.
And the cream cheese at that 300 didn't melt all over the.
This is finished. So then what I did is I wrapped it in more foil. Yeah. I put it in the fridge. So I did this weekend before, or a couple of days before I went up. Wrapped it in more foil, got to their place, put it in their fridge. Then I microwaved it when I got there to try and get it back a little warm again, and microwaved it for like 30 seconds or a minute, and then sort it out on the charcuterie board with the pickles and the jam.
Yeah, and you probably, if you can get it the temperature right, you could like if it sat out for a little bit of time, right, warmed back up to room temperature, you could probably do some crackers and just take it right off the charcuterie board, right?
We just use a knife but
but you could knife to put it on, or some folks almost like a dip, right?
Yeah, that was that was supposed to be the goal. It didn't end up like that. Yeah. And then this was the other. These are called shotgun shells and jalapeno poppers. And this was the first time I'd made these too. So it was a bit of an experimental weekend. So the shotgun shells are cannoli shells or manicotti shells, and they're stuffed with sausage meat and then wrapped in bacon and then rubbed in barbecue sauce and cooked until the meat's done.
By temp?
Yeah.
The meat, what do you, for the sausage?
It's sausage, so it should be 165.
Okay. Right.
These were a little overdone. They're a little too dry. Yeah. And then the other ones are just my standard jalapeno poppers.
If they got too dry, could you just dip them in some sauce?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, and that was the idea. It's.
I mean, it's like, that would be the perfect, put out a few sauces.
Yep.
And do you, with your sauces, like, okay, so when you're setting these out, do you like to get your sauces to room temperature before you serve them, or does it matter? Like, a lot of people store those in the fridge, and then
I've actually warmed them up in the barbecue.
Okay. Yeah.
And
could you smoke a sauce that way? Could you take a sauce and put it in the pan and throw it in the smoker?
Yeah.
And
like I've made chili before in the smoker.
Yeah.
Like
made it in the smoker, or just made it, then put it in the smoker. Really?
Okay. Like start from scratch. There's a recipe called over the top chili, and you make a meatball. I say meatball, it's the size of a bowling ball. Yeah. So you put all your veggies in the chili pot, and you put like a jerky rack on top of the pot, and you put your meatball on top of that, and you just smoke it until the meatball is done. So all the juices that run out of the meatball run into the chili. Mm. Then you pull the ball off, dice it up, toss it into the chili, and then you continue smoking it.
Yeah.
But I've also done it where you made the chili, cook the chili from scratch on the barbecue, and then every half hour you walk outside and put more liquid into it, whether it's beer or water or tomato sauce or.
Yeah. You could make like a cowboy chili that way, right? With bacon, and you start the meat, get that going, and then just bring it up to temperature in the smoker. And then all that stuff would kind of, oh boy, that'd be terrible for you. You'd have a heart attack the second you ate it.
And this is one I can't remember if I showed or not before.
Oh, hold on. Brian asks, sorry, I haven't been watching chat. Smoked cream cheese served hot or cold?
I like it warm. I like it warm.
Okay. Yeah.
But like we basically took it off the smoker and started serving it.
Yeah, you could, if you're at your place, you could just have that on the smoker, and when you're ready, just bring it in.
Yeah.
Basically, right? Yeah.
The big thing is not to overcook it.
Right.
So these are bacon wrapped, cream cheese stuffed portobello mushrooms.
Okay, let me bring them up. There we go. Ooh. Okay, say it again. Bacon wrapped.
Cream cheese stuffed.
Okay.
Portobello mushrooms.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And actually, I think the first time we did it was cream cheese from Costco. That was a herb and garlic cream cheese.
Ooh.
The second time they discontinued it, so we started using Robson, which is a herb and garlic soft cheese.
Okay.
But the cheese melts into the veins of the mushroom, and the whole thing gets this beautiful mushroom gravy.
Yeah.
So when you cut the thing open, it just runs out.
And portobello mushrooms about the size of your hand, right?
Yeah,
a little bit smaller, the big ones.
Yeah.
And then you just put the cream cheese in it.
Mm-hmm.
So cut it in a way that it'll fit on top of it, and then wrap it in bacon, maybe one way, another way, a third way. It looks like there's maybe
three strips on each one.
Yeah, 3 or 4 strips on there.
And all the veins are still in there. So the only thing we chopped off was the stem. So
that's easy.
Those are
easy. Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah.
How long were those on? Smoked?
Yeah, an hour-ish. Again, until the bacon's crispy.
Yeah.
Like food safety is a big thing, right? I'm knock on wood. I've been lucky that I haven't ever gotten myself sick or anybody else sick. But
yeah,
I try, and my pork's always to everything to temperature. So pork's always to 145. The meat I cooked about 130. Chicken goes to 165.
Well, last week, Gavin, we led the show. He got the meter block. So he bought the block with all 4 of them in it. He was pretty happy about that. And I always kind of think like, oh, I should get the block. And then actually the single, the one, I do so much single stuff. I'll cook my steaks individually to temp by just the temperature, a thermometer that's in there, and do them individually. For turkey or pork or some of those things, usually those are a big solid piece of meat. So the one is fine. The one is fine.
Well, that's why I use 2. Like I have my ThermoWorks smoke has 2 probes. So if I'm doing something like a turkey, I'll do it in a couple of spots because I can do it in a couple of spots.
It's a good idea. It's still a good idea. Yeah.
So this is something a friend of mine had a pool party, and he said, "Can you bring over an appetizer?" And they're one of our neighbors who have invited us into their group of friends. So he's had a group of friends since high school, and we've been invited into that group. Mm-hmm. And his friends start asking for stuff before I even say I'm going.
So what are we looking at?
That was pork belly done in a sweet salty rub. And the idea was it was supposed to look like...
and pork belly is the stuff bacon is made out of.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
It was supposed to look like this. It wasn't quite as successful as I want it to be. So it's a pork belly skewer with a piece of pineapple on top of it.
Oh.
So instead of trying to do it, this is a pool party and a lot of drinking going on. So what I did was I made a pan of pork belly. I actually made 2 different pans of pork belly, one spicy and one not spicy.
Okay.
And then grilled pineapple beside it. And then people would just take a skewer, stick the pineapple, stick the pork.
Good idea. Good idea. That's a good way to do it. That's a good way to do it. Yeah.
It's a little, it's not as presentable, but there's a lot of beer flowing around, a lot of drinks going on. It was just easy.
But I think flavor wise, sometimes as they sit there for a while, and actually sometimes this is good, the flavors will influence each other, but sometimes constructing them in the moment and then having them together is a whole different experience than if they've been sitting there for a while, pinned together, with a toothpick.
And then when it ended up being almost like pork belly burnt ends from the sauce.
Yeah.
And I brought back about 2 pounds of it, and we had that the rest of the week.
Yeah.
And we had some nights where it was just that and a salad. And then one night I said, you know what? They were a little salty. So one night I brought home wraps, shredded carrots, and shredded cabbage, and mixed that with rice wine vinegar. Ooh. So you had the pork belly, the rice wine vinegar, and a wrap. And it made almost like a Korean sandwich or a Korean roll. Yeah.
Did you put the cabbage in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shredded cabbage, shredded cabbage and carrots and rice wine vinegar.
Yeah.
And then the rice wine vinegar helped.
Peel the carrots? Did you peel?
It was a bag of shredded carrots.
Okay. Shredded carrots. Got it.
It's almost like it was like coleslaw mix of just cabbage and carrots.
So kind of crunchy, but kind of sweet but savory with the meat.
And sour.
Yeah. Ooh, a little chili sauce in there at all? Did you do it?
I didn't. But that would have been good on that. Like some sriracha would have been good.
Yeah, that would have worked well.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So that's the things I've been working on this summer that were a little different from normal.
Yeah. No, it's the HelloFresh experiment, which we did, and I had to admit last week to Gavin, we've actually stopped doing HelloFresh and we call it Sarah Fresh now. She's actually prepping the meals. So she shops on Monday afternoon. She preps all the meals for the week, puts them in bags like they did for HelloFresh. And then Sammy and I pull them in the evenings and we use the same recipe cards. So we're using their recipe cards, and it's been a great way to learn to do, because you get kind of stuck in your own patterns sometimes.
I don't know what the pricing is like down there, but when we priced it out up here, it was $12 per person per meal.
Yeah.
That gets a little
pricey. Yeah. And I think back in the day when I started, it was probably like $8 a person per meal.
Well, they're advertising up here $3 a meal.
Yeah, well, no, that's not true at all. that's not true at all. But we always, and to be honest, it was still cheaper than eating out, right? So
for sure,
there was that. But then, listen, buying groceries has all its own problems with it. You got to buy them, and it's almost like you're buying them at Costco. Try to get some radishes. Like we like to sometimes you take a radish, cut that up and make it a part of a taco, and then you get the radish creates the crunch, right?
Yeah, and you use one radish or two for a couple people,
like 3, 2 or 3, and you get like 17 at the store.
Yeah,
what am I going to do with these radishes? So there's that problem as well. I think we did HelloFresh for 7 years, something like that, 6-7 years. But we got to the point, I think now, where we're good enough. We've got all the pieces pulled together to be able to do that stuff. Listen, between you and HelloFresh, you guys definitely broadened what I could do. I mean, Mark, you have single-handedly changed my grilling methodology and the things that I do. I'm much more inclined to try new things and do different stuff. One of the things, I bought one of those chicken roasters, where you put the chicken. I bought that. I've used it a couple times. The last time I used it, I literally burned the chicken to the ground. The grease caught fire and the whole chicken burned. So I haven't done it in a while, but I need to get back. Now that I've got the smoker.
Or do a spatchcock of chicken and toss it in the smoker. It'll never burn it.
Right.
Other than having, I say that with a caveat, other than getting a grease fire in your smoker, you'll never burn your chicken.
Yeah, no, right on. And but the chances are I keep the smoker cover, whatever that is, on the flame. Yeah. I always keep it closed. It's never open.
I don't have that. And I typically get a grease fire every year or 2 years.
Really?
Yeah, because
it gets hot enough. It gets hot enough to start with.
I do chicken wings. The chicken wings leave remnants behind it, and all of a sudden they'll do a burger, and the burgers are getting cooked at a higher temperature than the chicken wings are.
Yeah.
And you got enough fat in there that it ends up getting. You don't have to have direct flame to get a grease fire. You just got high heat.
Right.
So, I have 4 boxes of baking powder, baking powder, like Arm & Hammer baking powder.
I think it's soda, but it doesn't matter.
So I have 4 boxes of that in my barbecue closet. So I got a fire. You don't panic. You go grab a box of it. You toss it onto the thing. I don't even turn the thing off anymore. Right. I put the fire out and I keep cooking. So it's I've been doing smoking for about 10 years.
Yeah.
Well, Mike and I were talking when he just bought his Rectech.
Yeah.
So we did 4 years with, I think 4 barbecue shows with him, and then he's been gone 4 years, so maybe 8 years.
Yeah.
And I probably had 4 or 5 grease fires.
Okay.
So, and it's not that I abuse my grills and they're always dirty. It's just
it happens. It happens.
It happens, and anybody who has a pellet grill typically has had it happen to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
I haven't had my pellet grill catch fire yet, but I definitely have had my regular grill catch fire all the time. Like that is, because I have I have a burner, and then I use rock on top of that, and that rock collects stuff, and then every once in a while it just gets to the right temp or whatever, and it starts. For me, the life-changing thing for me in all this, Mark, has been beef jerky. Like, I look for deals. I look for a London broil or a top round.
Yep.
And oftentimes they're pretty expensive cuts, and they don't always sell well. And oftentimes the grocery store makes them available, like they're getting close to the sell by date, which is still way a ways.
That's a recommended date.
Right. But they'll put them on sale for, typically now they're about $9 a pound. And sometimes I can get them for $5 or $6. I used to get them for $3 or $4, but $5 or $6, that's a pretty good deal. Bring them home, freeze them for overnight, and then in the morning, slice them up frozen, because it's a lot easier to cut that meat that way. Throw the marinade in, mix them up a little bit, throw them in the fridge for the next day. Bring them out, put the mats down. I got those frog mats, throw them on the mats, set it at smoke on the and let it go. It's until they're done.
Right? Yeah, I figure it's 4 hours for a batch of jerky.
Yeah, so if it's colder, maybe a little bit longer. Right, I've done them in the middle of winter.
Yep.
Takes a little bit longer, but yeah, 4 or 5 hours. And man, if I start them at noon, that lands like at this perfect time where we're pulling them off around dinner, and then we'll do cigars and cocktails after dinner with beef jerky. Dude, that is amazing.
I went to a friend's cottage one year, and it's a very communal lake, so they tend to have a lot of people come around for bonfires and stuff. And I brought some jerky out the first time I was there, and then for the next year, his buddy's like, "So is that guy Mark coming back with more jerky?"
It is one of my granddaughter, who I think she's 9 or 10, and she comes over now and she's like, "Grandpa Jim, do you have any beef jerky?" So now I have to know she's coming over. I better go, and I better go pick up and surprisingly, Walmart actually has some pretty good London broil at Walmart, maybe $6 a pound there, which is pretty reasonable, pretty good quality. And if I'm in a pinch, I can pick one of those up and bring them in and have that ready. I could turn it over overnight, pick it up on that day, slice it up, put it in some marinade. I've been using some bourbon honey marinade, which is pretty good. Then a bunch of pepper in there and throwing them on the grill. Oh man.
Have you tried brisket jerky yet?
Okay. You talked to me about that a couple years ago, and I tried that, and that's pretty amazing if you can get it right. I found cutting the brisket in a way that, because I almost need to get the brisket and cut the cap part of it off.
See, right? I don't bother with that. So if I'm doing it, I'll trim. There's a flat and a point. The point is the fattier part. The flat is the flatter part. Right. So I clean up the flat as much as I can, and I'll actually start trimming back some of the point a little bit. So I only use about half my brisket. I only use half the brisket for jerky, or half the flat for jerky.
Right.
So I pull what I can easily off of it, and then what's left, the flat and the point, I grind up. I make ground beef out of it. And you make brisket burgers out of those, and they are like there's this big ratio that you want to see, like 80-20 fat to meat ratio for good burgers, or 70-30 is not bad either. You're getting this 70-30 out of all the brisket.
And you need to make them pretty big, right? Because they shrink. Do they shrink pretty good? The brisket burgers, do they shrink up? Because they got a lot of fat in them, right?
No, like I was making. I think I was making half-pound burgers, and they end up being like a third pound. But one burger per person, you were stuffed. Like this was, like
pretty tasty though. Yeah. Oh. And cutting those was a challenge. What I needed to do is prep it a little farther in advance. So take that brisket, put it in the freezer for a couple hours so it firm up really well, and then be able to cut that into jerky slices. Because you do want to kind of get fairly uniform on the jerky. Right.
I ended up getting about an 1/8 to 3/16 of an inch, I think. Yeah, I don't mind a thicker jerky.
Are you hand cutting it, or do you have a slicer?
No, hand cutting.
I thought about getting a slicer for that.
I saw one for sale last week, and I was debating on it.
Yeah,
I haven't made jerky in a couple of years, and I need to make some more because I did enjoy it.
So,
and it's
you do the fattier part of the meat for jerky, or the leaner part of the meat?
Leaner.
Okay.
Yeah, use a flat, which is the same thing they make pastrami out of, I think.
Okay.
And
that's the top, not the top.
No, it's the bottom part.
It's the bottom part. Okay.
It's a bigger, longer, flatter piece.
Okay.
So the point it's flat in the point. So the flat part's the piece that's the bigger of the two pieces.
Yeah.
The point's the piece at the one end of it that's less taller, and it's got the. If you cut into the point, you see a lot more fat going through it.
Okay.
So when you take a really fatty point and you take a really lean flat, the two together give you a nice ratio for ground beef.
Yeah. I will say, if you've got a good butcher in your location, if you're listening to this and your brisket is baffling to you, because it's a big ass piece of meat,
20 pounds is not
unusual. You go in and you're like, and if you're paying full price for it, you might, even here in the US, you're paying $100 now. You might want to, there's other ways to get it, but if you got a butcher available to you, he'll separate those he or she can separate those for you. So if they're a real butcher, you can take your brisket. If you buy the brisket, say, hey, separate those two pieces for me. Then you can kind of decide what you want to do with them. It kind of just depends on how you're cooking your brisket. But, that's a good way. Mark, I bought a brisket. This was maybe 2 years ago. Here, I'll bring these up here for you. And I did do that. And the jerky was soft and delicious. Yeah, it was delicious.
Pulls apart.
It was delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah. And although some like my granddaughter, she likes it kind of chewy and tough and work at it kind of so kind of depends on your view of jerky, how you like that. What are we looking at here?
Brisket burger.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So that's a blue cheese bacon brisket burger. That was smoked.
Now I'm hungry. Brisket, blue cheese. And so bacon. You're smoking these you bring your smoker up to, so you're grinding up. What do you use to grind up your brisket?
KitchenAid grinder.
Okay. So that, and I've tried doing that sometimes, and maybe I don't have the right grinder. The fat gets all, like in that KitchenAid one, the fat gets all.
Needs to be cold.
Okay.
The same way that your beef has to be cold when you're cooking it, or when you're slicing it.
Yeah.
You want to keep your meat in the freezer.
Okay.
Like what I'll do is when I'm I'll actually cube it up into pieces, and I'll bring out like a pound at a time and run that pound through, and then grab another pound and run that through. Sense.
Okay. Freeze it hard and then bring it out in sections, run it through the grinder cold.
Freeze it for like an hour and a half type thing. Okay. So it's the same same reason that you want to put your meat into the fridge or freezer before you cut it.
Right.
To make it easier to cut.
Yeah.
It helps the grinder to do the same thing.
Okay.
I took a sausage making class one time, and the guy, it was a better quality grinder, but it was a metal grinding mechanism. The entire body was metal, and he kept the grinder in the freezer.
Yeah.
To try and keep everything as cold as you can.
It's cold.
Because fat cold will crumble, but fat soft smears.
It's messy.
Yeah.
We did it. We tried doing it the first time. I bought the attachments. I haven't ever seen I think Sarah hid them from me, just to be honest. She was like, you're never doing this again. We and it may have been after you and I talked about making brisket burgers, and I just don't think I got that meat cold enough.
Yeah. It took me a little while to figure that out. Didn't want to do that.
No, it's okay. It's all right.
I'm trying to find some other picture. Actually,
when you say blue cheese, is the blue cheese added? So you're smoking the burger and then the blue cheese on the meat as you're putting the burger together. By the way, sweet chili on a burger is super good. Like making an aioli sauce, like a chipotle aioli sauce, and then sweet chili sauce on a burger, no cheese. It's amazing. Oh, sprinkle a little bit of onion, fried onion.
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude. That's a HelloFresh right there. It's so good. We did that the other day, and I was like, why would I eat a burger the regular way ever again? It was super good.
This is I found a better picture of a brisket burger.
Okay.
With the blue cheese.
Oh yeah. And pickles? I'm
and
assuming those are
pickles.
pickles around the
Yeah,
bottom.
and they're sour pickles.
You're a pickle guy though,
I
right?
like
You
pickles.
pickles.
Yeah. These are pickles that we get from Costco, but they come from a Montreal deli called Moishes, and you have to buy them in the refrigerator. And the brine is cloudy; you can't see through it, and like they're truly like smoked meat style pickles.
So good.
But that is, to me, that's my perfect burger: a bacon blue cheese burger with pickles.
Ooh. And the blue cheese you're just sprinkling on the top before
as I'm cooking it, like just before it's done.
You ever thought about putting a little like dark, super dark maple syrup in the burgers as you're mixing them up so you get a little maple flavor? Especially if you're going to put bacon, if you're going to make bacon burgers.
No, but we do. That's the only type of maple syrup we buy is the dark stuff.
Yeah, well, that's all you have up there.
We have light.
Sell the cheap stuff.
I don't.
They're like, what? That's water.
Yeah,
that's just water. This is the real stuff.
Now, a lot of people like the light stuff, but I find it
really.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I find I want more flavor.
Dark amber grade A maple syrup is pretty amazing.
There's a story probably 10 years ago now, but somebody stole a transport truck or a warehouse full of maple syrup from a warehouse in Quebec. And they had the RCMP involved and stuff, and it was...
that's great. That's great.
Actually, here we go. Here's my brisket jerky.
Okay.
Present.
I have a whiskey that's made. Knob Creek makes a maple syrup whiskey. That's really good. Ooh, look at that.
So that's brisket jerky.
It's a little. Was it crumbly when you would take a bite out of it? Was it a little crumbly, or was it?
No, it was still moist. It was. Okay. It looks a little drier or stiffer there, but it was actually moist.
Yeah,
not moist, but it was.
Don't get me wrong. I like my bacon a little crumbly. Like I like to cook it. I overcook it. So it's so when you bite into it, it's kind of crumbly. That's the way I like it. If this was crumbly, I would be okay with it.
No, this was still, you can still pull it. But talking about brisket and bacon, have you ever tried doing brisket bacon?
Okay. No, but explain it to me. It sounds delicious.
So the day after we do brisket, if we do brisket at home, often we'll do it when we have, if I'm doing my reunion, I'll usually do pulled pork or I'll do a brisket.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that nobody else in our family can do. So it's
a volume. It's a volume thing.
And it's a volume thing too.
Yeah, for sure.
So people come over and they're staying with us for a couple of days. We get people in from out of town and stuff. So the day after we do the brisket, we take slices of it the next morning and we pan fry it. So you now have pan fried brisket slices that look like pieces of bacon.
Yeah.
That with eggs in the morning. Oh my God.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Oh, you cut them up. You cut it up and add it to. So put the eggs in and then add the meat.
No, you cook it just separate like bacon.
Okay.
So like we'll slice up all the brisket or a big chunk of brisket at once, and then toss in like 8 slices at a time into a frying pan and start frying it up, and it starts to the fat inside there starts rendering down and starts to actually make the grease for the frying pan and that's good. Yeah,
it gets me thinking, like, and this may not be any good, but you know how you make sausage gravy? What if you made brisket gravy?
Well, sausage gravy is made with fat, right? As a base.
Right.
So you can do that with beef tallow.
Yeah.
So I saw somebody on Facebook selling 100-pound block of beef tallow.
Yeah.
I don't know how much beef they had to render down to get to that, but I also have friends who make beef tallow.
100-pound block. Pounds? Wow.
Yeah, 100-pound block of beef tallow.
That lasts a while. Well, I mean, maybe for a restaurant, maybe that would be the.
I found my grinder too.
Okay.
So the sausage class I took, the guy was a chef, and there's a grinder he was using, and he would keep that in the freezer.
Yeah. You almost grind it in the freezer, right?
Yeah, if you could, yeah.
If you could, if you grind it in a really cold place. Yeah, that was my big mistake, is letting the meat get too warm. And again, I think Sarah hid those parts from me. She's like, we're not doing this. We're not doing it, because I made a gigantic mess. Like it was a and she's like, yeah, you're never going to do this again. So
we've done it. I think last time we did it, we got 2 briskets.
Yeah.
I think I took 6 pounds of raw meat, and I think I had 10 pounds of ground beef, and I made 3.5 pounds of brisket jerky out of it.
Okay. Yeah.
So because it's so lean, it doesn't shrink down that much.
Yeah. Well, in brisket, I mean, it's not expensive meat.
No,
it's just, it's so big, right?
Yeah. You need to work with it.
Right.
But again, the same method I use for holding my pulled pork, putting it in freezer bags and vacuum sealing it, you can do the same thing with brisket, and it ends up reheating it just as if it came off the barbecue.
Yeah. You think if you're going to do a lot of your own cooking, you think it's worth it to have your own vacuum
Absolutely
sealing? Do you know what you have? Do you know what you use? There's tons of them. I imagine the name brand doesn't matter, but do you know what you have?
I've had a couple of them. I don't remember the last one I got. Got it actually. I think I got it off of Amazon, so I can probably find it.
You get certain bags for that, right? You get.
I actually buy a bulk roll now. Okay. I buy like a 500-foot roll in a box.
Yeah,
and it has a little slider to
slice them off the roll. Yeah.
Orders.
Yeah, I think if you're going to be doing a lot, and listen, we're doing a lot more, as I mentioned, we're not doing HelloFresh anymore, which means we're doing a lot more of our own stuff. And I think, if you're in certain markets that you're in, you may have access to meat or some of those kinds of things where it might make sense to buy it in bulk and then package your own. And Mark, for me, cooking, pre-planning those meals and getting them prepped in advance makes the cooking so much more enjoyable.
It gives you, it's one less thing you have to do when you get home.
Yeah.
You can just come home, grab the stuff you want to cook, and start cooking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've had that for 3 years from the look of it.
What is it? What are we looking at?
It's called a Nesco Deluxe VS12 vacuum sealer.
Okay.
So I had, there's a popular brand out there. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I had one that lasted, the first one lasted about 10 years. Second one lasted about 3 years. And one thing I found out was that you can't, like this one has a latching handle. That handle at the front latches it to hold it shut. You shouldn't have it held shut when you're storing it. And I think that's what happened with my second one. So we use this for doing pulled pork. We use it when you smoke our cheese, you have to vacuum seal the cheese when you smoke regular cheese. So like I think right now I have 10 pounds of smoked cheese in the fridge.
Fridge, or do you freeze it?
Fridge.
Okay.
We used some this year that was 2 years old. We opened some up fresh that was 2 years old.
And it was in the fridge the whole time?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Vacuum sealed in the fridge.
Wow.
No issues at all.
Okay.
And like if you smoke cheese, you have to let it sit there for about 6 weeks. So we vacuum seal it. I have a trick that I use that I'll do 5 or 6 different types of cheeses at once. Okay. So I'll use toothpicks in it, and I'll put 1 toothpick in one type, 2 toothpicks, another type, half a toothpick and another one, 2 half picks, another one, and I take a picture of my camera. And so then when I'm smoking, I still have the same toothpicks in it. And when I vacuum seal it, I look at the picture to figure out what cheese it was, because you can't tell anymore.
Yeah.
Then we write that on the label, stick it in the fridge for 6 weeks, and then you look at what it was, and we have a date on it.
Yeah.
And we put them in this year. My wife says, I found some cheese here from 2022. So we opened it up, tried it out. There was nothing wrong with it at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I did some pork that was a year and some change old that had been frozen solid, right?
Yeah.
For the time. And it worked out just fine. Do you find a cheese that what's your favorite cheese, or what's easy to smoke for you?
Anything the harder, like the extra old cheddar.
Yeah.
Real
sharp cheddars.
We do Gouda, we do mozzarella, we do Havarti, Monterey Jack.
Havarti's good.
Yeah. Like we get some up here that are habanero cheddar and jalapeno Monterey Jack.
Yep.
And I'm paying about $4 a pound, so like $3 for you guys a pound.
Yeah.
And it's just the local, nothing special cheese.
Yeah.
And then you smoke it and you give it to people and they're like, holy crap. Like
Yeah.
this is not normal.
Yeah. Do you do much farmers markets at all? Do you for any of
No,
this stuff? Okay.
I like them, but the pricing on them is just
Yeah.
it's
It's
crazy.
hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Now the only thing I do as farmers market is we go and buy corn from a local farm, but we actually go to the farm to buy the corn.
Yeah.
So this corn place up here called Hudson's. There's a local market called the Cart Market. They will have a lineup from one side of the market to the other waiting for their corn. There'll be another half dozen vendors there that have corn that nobody's buying. They're waiting for Hudson's corn.
Sweet corn. This is sweet
corn. Yeah. So we actually go to the farm where they have a stall and we buy it right from the stall.
Wow.
And we do that 3 or 4 times a season. Yeah. And it's we won't buy it anywhere else. Like we won't buy it from the grocery store. We won't buy it from other stalls. We go to this one stall. It's 25 minutes from the house. So we drive to the stall in the middle of nowhere to buy the sweet corn. But it is that good.
It can be really good. It can make the difference, right?
They don't do any natural accelerators. Sorry, they don't do any accelerators. So a lot of the other places will put plastic wrap on the field to try and make mini greenhouses to get the corn to start sprouting sooner. So these guys are always the last ones to sprout. And I think they have a pig farm from what I remember too. And they put pig manure on it for fertilizer. Yeah. And it is the sweetest sweet corn I've ever had.
Yeah. Yeah. I watched this guy on YouTube and he has a dairy farm and they take the waste from the dairy farm and put it on their cornfields. And then they grow corn, but they grow feed corn. They don't grow. And I would be like, dude, you ought to plant, a dozen rows of sweet corn in the summer and then sell those things back to the local markets. Like his fields, I mean, they're constantly emptying the
manure pail,
the barns, and then they just spray it right on their fields, right?
Well, I worked in both places. I worked on a 300 head dairy farm that did that.
Yeah.
And I also worked for a sweet corn farm. The guy had about 35 acres that I picked sweet corn for him.
Yeah.
And we used to laugh because people would see his sweet corn farm and then go pick corn at the next field over thinking it was more sweet corn and it was actually cow corn.
Yeah. No, you don't want sweet corn. You don't want trichitical. I think is what they grow now, which is corn designed for feed.
Yeah.
And they bring it in, they cut it down, bring it in, and then just chop it all up.
It makes silage out of it.
Yeah. Right. The cows love that stuff.
Yeah.
It's a good as you think about all these things. It's just so, listen, we've talked about a half a dozen things tonight, but man, the sky's the limit on some of this stuff. And I think, we spent a lot of time during the pandemic, coming up with some of these things, but doesn't mean we need to stop, right? I mean, there's still plenty of great opportunities to visit your local farmers market, see what's going on, to see what's being available in your local area fresh, right?
Yeah.
To see if you have access to getting pork or beef or chicken fresh. One of the things when we switched this last couple weeks from HelloFresh to Sarah Fresh is what we're calling it. We were cooking, we did a meal and we had chicken breasts and they were huge and HelloFresh weren't as big as I would have expected. Now, who knows if the ones we had more steroids? I don't know, but it was like, whoa, these are big.
So and you got to use that dry brine formula for any chicken.
Yeah.
And it's so simple. It's a third of a teaspoon of salt per pound of chicken.
Okay.
And let it sit in the fridge for a night. And that's it.
Really?
And it makes the juiciest chicken. It's unbelievable.
So hold on. A third of a pound per pound?
A third of a teaspoon of salt.
Third of a teaspoon of salt per pound.
Per pound of chicken.
Then brine the chicken. Brine, so water and salt.
No.
Brine. No, just salt.
Just toss the salt into the bag, massage the chicken around, put it in the fridge for a day.
Overnight.
Yep. I typically do it for at dinner one night for the following night.
Okay.
And then to kick it up a notch, you can wrap it in bacon, but it doesn't even need that. Like just a chicken breast by itself or the chicken thigh by itself with this dry brine on it I've done it 3 or 4 times when I've had people over, and people are like, "What did you do to the chicken? Like this is unbelievable how juicy it is." And it's just a third of a teaspoon of salt per pound.
Per pound. Okay. All right. We'll have to throw that into the bag, mix it around, throw it in.
It'd be interesting to do an experiment. Try doing it with one chicken breast one way and one chicken breast with nothing.
Yeah.
And see if you can figure out which one's which.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't wash it off or anything. You just pull it out of the bag and grill it.
Well, and we'll pull it out of the bag. We'll salt and pepper it.
Yeah.
And then whatever season we're going to use. This, the meal we had, I think it was last night or 2 nights ago, was some kind of, to be honest, Sammy did the chicken, but it was something, it's a bunch of stuff on top, and it kind of cooked into it. And it was delicious. She cooked it right to temp. We oven cooked it, which was delicious, and it was super good. But we'll have to think about that.
The dry brine doesn't make it doesn't make it noticeably saltier. So like you don't have to do anything. You just pull it out of the bag, do what you normally do with it, and then. So what we did was we pulled out the bag and we put lemon pepper seasoning on it because we were having it with a Caesar salad. So that's a salty rub, anyways. But it wasn't overly. It wasn't doubly salted. It was just
salt, right? Just salt. It's basically a brine, right?
It's a dry. Yeah.
I'll have to talk to Sarah about that because she's prepping those in advance. So we could, if it's that for 2 days, would it be bad?
Or I don't think so.
Okay.
It's a minimum of a day.
Okay. Maybe we could try that with our chicken. She's because she's prepping it Monday for a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, sometimes Friday. We consume it on those days, so maybe that would work.
But I'd be really curious to see if you notice the difference between a brined and a non-brined.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. Sammy has gotten really good at pan cooking chicken. She can cook it. I don't know what she's doing. Like we're both doing it to temp. But whatever she's doing, it's so much better than what I'm doing.
Maybe lower temps.
I don't know. I don't know. She just does a really nice job of sometimes she's the chef and I'm the sous chef, and then sometimes I'm the chef and she's the sous. The chicken's always better when she's cooking it. She just does a nice job. The other thing we've been doing a lot of, and I don't know if you've been doing much of this, we cook a lot of couscous now that we hadn't been, instead of rice.
Yep.
Doing a couscous. And if you toast that couscous, and sometimes if you toast it in onions, in green onions or in what do they call it? The white part of the
shallots.
Yeah, shallots. In advance, a little salt and pepper in there. Oh, toast it that way and then boil it. Man, that makes such a delicious rice alternative.
We do a lot of that in the summer with sun-bread tomatoes, roasted red peppers. Capers, artichokes, hearts of palm.
Yeah.
So we do mix all that up with like a vinegar, balsamic vinegar and balsamic vinegar or lemon juice and olive oil.
Yeah. You know what? The other thing is you mentioned those ingredients. We've been quick pickling.
Yep.
Cucumbers.
Yep.
Oh, that's super good.
Or cabbage or onions.
Yes. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. I haven't done that yet, but I want to do some of that.
Yeah. Quick pickle, a cucumber, like you said, or a little some onions. Doesn't take much. Doesn't need to be there long. I mean,
an hour. I think they say.
I could eat, and we kind of include those. We'll do some wraps with quick pickled cucumbers, so you get the crunchiness of it, but you get the vinegar taste. Of it. It's so delicious. I'll eat those just by themselves. They're so good. And it's not a pickle. I'm not a big pickle fan, but the cucumber in vinegar, and it's such a simple thing to, you do that. You slice up those cucumbers, then quick pickle them first thing, set them aside, and then make the rest of your meal. And
what will go really good with that is this stuff right here.
Okay. What are we looking at?
This is salt, pepper, garlic.
Oh, yeah.
It's Sucklebuster's rub on pork belly strips.
Oh, yeah.
So buy pork belly, cut it into strips, smoke it 6-7 hours. And I'll do an entire pork belly at once. So that's 15 or 20 of those. And I package them up into 3 strips.
Okay.
And what this one actually is, this was 4 strips. So 3 strips that we're cooking for the salad. And the top one is actually a 4th strip that I pan fry and get them into almost like little bacon bits.
So you smoke this pork belly first, then
Yeah.
slice it, then pan.
No.
Right.
I cut it into strips first.
Okay.
And then put the rub on all 4 sides.
Got it.
And then smoke it.
Okay.
And then freeze it.
Okay.
Or do this with it.
Yeah.
So this came out of the freezer. And this is what I had tonight. This isn't my meal from tonight, but this is what I had tonight.
Right.
So pork belly strips. Tonight we cubed it up. We took the pre-done ones, chopped them into chunks, pan fried them for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then put them on top of a bed of noodles, chopped cabbage, made a homemade peanut sauce.
Yes. Yes.
And that was tonight. And then with hoisin and sriracha on top of that.
Yeah.
But we do that at a time. Like that's like a 20-pound piece of pork belly.
Yeah.
And so I have a picture somewhere. My entire grill is covered. My big grill is covered in pork belly strips.
Yeah.
So it's about 3 feet long, and then package them up in vacuum sealer again, and three in like a meal portion, right? So that's 3 pieces, with the idea that we have 1 each, and then we have 1 to pan fry, or we have 1.5 each on top of an Asian salad.
Is that like doing jerky with the pork bellies? Similar?
No, it's still very juicy.
No, but I mean, as far as the prep, so I get a pork belly. Would I freeze that, slice it up? Okay.
No, you can just cut it like a piece of meat.
Okay.
You need a sharp knife, but you can cut it like a piece of meat.
And then put those on the grill like I would. I mean, on the smoker like I would a jerky, where I'm just laying those out and
or like a piece of steak.
Okay.
Almost like ribs, right?
Higher temp or
250.
Okay. So
you want to smoke. They put out a lot of grease. They put you have a lot of runoff from that.
Yeah.
Because you think about, if you look at the side profile of bacon, all the fat that's in there, well, that's now 1 by 1, right? It's a 1 by 1 strip of bacon.
Yeah.
So, but those are, I'll buy that once a year.
Butcher shop, or it doesn't seem like you can. Oh, Costco's got pork bellies?
Yeah.
Okay.
So our Costco will actually have strips already cut up. And I think you get 8 strips in a box in a tray, or you can actually buy the full strip, which is 2 feet to 30 inches long.
Okay. I think we have a Costco membership. Listen, I'm afraid to go there because of the whiskey, just to be honest.
Yeah, we don't have that issue.
It's too cheap here. It's too cheap here. I just would not.
I've had some Costco whiskey. I've had some Costco cognac.
It's not bad.
If we had a Costco here, I'd be buying it.
Yeah, like it's not bad. What's the name of there's a brand? Kirkland. Kirkland. Yeah. Kirkland. Yeah. Well, Mark, thanks for jumping in, and a lot of good stuff here. I'm sure we didn't get to it all, but that's okay. There's lots of good. I think I want to tell people, don't be afraid. Listen, years ago when we started doing the show, you guys have taught me in the 8 years we've been doing, maybe 9 or 10. I can't remember how long we've been doing this barbecue special in the summer. You guys have taught me so much about that. And then learning through other means. For me, it's been HelloFresh. You always talk about going out and taking classes, right?
Yeah.
I
took a dozen classes when they had them on.
Yeah.
But a lot of it's just trying something new, right? Like we all watch cooking shows, or we see a Facebook post, or I try stuff all the time. It doesn't always work out. Most times it does, but it doesn't always work out.
Do you ever fail?
Yeah.
Does it ever fail? And you're like, oop.
Yeah.
God, let's not eat this.
my wife has a famous one that she always brings up, that it's a spaghetti sauce that I made right after we married, and she hated it. Like, you can't be right all the time, but that was the one time I did that, and it's. But I do 95% of the cooking in the house. So.
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of those things you just got to do. You just got to give it a try, and you got to experiment with it. I'm to the point now where I can do my beef jerky just sleeping. You buy the meat, put it in overnight, slice it the next morning, put it in the marinade. I've tried a couple different marinades. It doesn't really matter what the marinade is.
I like the Dr. Pepper.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. I need to try that.
I do Dr. Pepper, and I replace the salt with a different ratio of steak spice.
Okay.
But it's like I can't draw a circle to save my life. I couldn't draw a picture. I can't play a musical instrument. My wife's family is extremely artistic. Every one of them can do. They can pick up pen and paper and just draw something. You know exactly what they're drawing. And they said to me one time and said, "Well, what is your artistic talent?" And my wife and I both at the same time said, "Cooking."
Yeah.
Like it's
I
can take ingredients and make something, and that's just another artistic outlet.
Well, I think sometimes we think we're afraid. This is where Sarah, my wife, does so well. We call her the sauce queen, and she just starts putting ingredients together, and then she just starts tasting it till it tastes right.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I have a sauce. We had some friends from Brazil come to town, and she put the sauce together we did I made them bacon wrapped sirloins, and we did, we cooked some other stuff for them. And she made a sauce for the thing. I think I did a rice and it's a vegetable medley that I grilled. So the steaks were on the smoker and the vegetables were on the grill. Like I had both going at the same time. And she put a sauce together. She said, "Don't ask me how to recreate this. I don't know how." Right. And it was just putting sauce together and tasting it. I guess the key is just, you got to try. Like, get out there. And guys, you might be in a situation, ladies, there's very few ladies who listen to this, but guys, you might be in a situation where you don't do a lot of that stuff. We'll start doing it. Like,
you can't learn unless you try.
No, get out there, throw some things on the grill, try some stuff.
The peanut sauce I made tonight, I don't have a recipe for. I put in the same stuff every time, but I don't measure any of it.
Right.
It's lime juice, rice wine vinegar, peanut butter, PB2, which is a peanut butter powder, water, maple syrup, ginger, garlic. And I think that's it. I just keep on playing with the ratios till I get the right thing.
Sorry, Sammy was talking to me. I missed
no problem.
It. Well, no, but you don't measure it, but you put it together.
You mix it, you taste it, you mix it, you taste it, you mix it, you taste it. Like you keep on, it's missing this or it's missing that. And there's that term umami, which is sort of like, it's a blend of all the sweet, sour, salty, and
yeah.
That's what you're trying to get, right? You're trying to get a nice blend. A peanut sauce should taste peanutty, but it should also have a little bit of zip to it, but it should also have a little heat to it, and it should be a little sweet, and it should be So,
and you know what? It's okay. It's if it's different every time, right?
I gave it to my wife tonight, and I said, "What do you think of this?" She goes, "Oh yeah, that's another good one." But then we had friends over, and like, "Well, how do you make it?" Like,
I don't know. I don't know.
Here's my ingredients.
Yeah, folks.
That started from a recipe somewhere,
right?
At some point, I had a recipe for it, and then like, oh, that's pretty good, but I like this instead.
You just get good at mixing it up, and you get comfortable with it, and you do it, and it becomes your thing. And sometimes I've made some beef jerky, and we're like, maybe not my best work. And then sometimes, like, people will come over, and I'll be like, it's okay. And everybody else is like, I'm sure this has happened to you. Everybody else is like, this is the best thing ever. And you're like, I thought it was average. And they're like, no.
Pulled pork at the cottage weekend. Like, this is okay. It's not my best pulled pork, I don't think. And we're like, are you kidding me? Like, this stuff is phenomenal.
No, I know. It's just amazing. I think the fun thing, and you do this a lot, Mark, is I watch you on Facebook and stuff, is you cook a lot for friends.
Yep.
You make a lot of family. And when I say family, I mean your extended around you.
My family is my friends.
Yeah. You make stuff, you take it, other people get to enjoy. And for me too, I love it when I'll make, I'll get a 2-pound London broil and make jerky out of it, and then put it out on the table, and it just disappears, and people are like, that was the best ever.
It's a little selfish in a way, because I enjoy sharing, so I get pleasure out of doing it.
Yeah.
So selfish is the wrong term, but it brings me joy.
Yeah.
So I do it for myself as well as for other people.
Yeah. Well, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I can never do those things, you can. And 8 years ago, when I started having Mark and Mike on the show, I didn't know how to do any of this stuff. Listen, you guys got me to buy my first instant
thermometer.
You guys got me with the magic tube or whatever it's called.
Smoking tube.
Smoking tube, right?
And the chicken roaster.
Yes. Yeah, I bought all those things because we talked about that. And then, I finally bought the pellet grill and I've been doing beef jerky and I've been making great stuff. The grill, my grill is already, I was doing a lot of grilling before that, but I wasn't doing very much smoking. And so you got me doing, I still am not smoked cheeses and I need to try that. That's something
you have to do that in anytime between late fall and early spring.
You need the outside temperature to be pretty chill, right?
Well, like not much above freezing.
Right. Yeah. Something to do here. That would be like a November kind of thing here in Nebraska. So
I tend to do it late or early spring because it gets me my cheeses for the summer events I'm going to do.
Yeah. And you store them that long then after? Wow. Fridge? Just in the fridge? Okay.
We have a garage fridge, like a beer fridge in the garage, and the cheese drawer in that is full.
Well, we have a fridge upstairs and a fridge downstairs. They're both full of stuff. I almost need a third fridge if I'm going to start smoking cheeses.
There's two of us in the house. We have 2 full-size fridges and an apartment-sized freezer, and all 3 freezers are completely packed.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Mark, always great to have you on. Thanks for coming on and being our expert and just trying stuff, just doing stuff all the time. This is always fun to have you on and see the pictures. Brian says, thanks for sharing, Mark. Learned a lot this evening and hopefully you have learned too. If you're listening to the audio of this, you might want to come out and catch the pictures that Mark showed. Not as many as we've done in times past, but there's some good pictures out there as well. And a great opportunity to just, I think if the message I take away from this is you just got to try it, right? You got to try something new, try something different. Listen, you got me thinking about this caveman. You got me thinking about these caveman steaks. Like, I think that's what I'm going to do next time is I'll just buy a bag of lump charcoal and I'll put that on the grill, get it fired up, get it hot, cook those steaks indirectly, get them in there, get them to temp, throw them in the coals, pull them off. That's simple, right? That's simple. Can you hang out? Yep. Mark, can you hang out 1 sec while I close things up?
Yep.
Okay. Remind everybody to take full advantage of all the resources we have available in our Discord group, which the resources are awesome people, by the way. If you want to, that's the best Discord group on the internet, I think. Head out to theaverageguy.tv/Discord. Leave us a message, homegadgetgeeks.com. If you haven't been out there in a while. That's really a pod page site, and it's got a lot of cool stuff on it if you want to check that out. TheAverageGuy.tv platform, powered by Maple Grove Partners. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust. Man, that Pikesville hit me hard here at the very end. Visit Maple Grove Partners and make sure I get all those words in together. MapleGrovePartners.com. And just talked to Christian the other day. He's hosting plans as low as $10 a month if you want to check him out. Maple Grove. What are you going to say, Mark?
He's still hosting for $10 a month.
Still $10. Yeah, it's fighting inflation at every chance he gets to do $10 plans. And I don't know how long that will last, but he's doing those for now. So if you need a site, check it out. Send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. If you have a recipe that you like, that you want to share in the show notes, send me that in an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. We'll throw it in the show notes. And thanks for coming out and listening. If you're listening live, just a few of you left. Tony, Ken, Brian, I think I saw you guys out here tonight. For everybody listening to the podcast version of this or on YouTube, thanks for listening. We'll be back next week. I don't have a guest yet. I may take next week off, just to be honest with you. A lot of stuff going on here on this end, but we'll have another show for you lined up at some point in time. And for those of you listening live, thanks for coming out. And I think with that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.